What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Roots. I'm going to talk about N.W.A.'s EP from 1990, 100 Miles and Runnin'. Now, basically, this project came out after their 1988 album, Straight Outta Compton, and before their last album, which was also their second album, Niggas for Life, which came out in the spring of 1991. So there weren't an overabundance of N.W.A. projects, but they were pretty controversial if you don't know wholesomely about them. Basically, they were not fond of the cops, and they kind of had a lot of controversial type rap tracks to make, like Fuck the Police and like Just Don't Bite It, which is a controversial track on here, and Straight Outta Compton was pretty controversial. So there was a number of ones on here that kind of were controversial and such. They had a lot. It was just a rap group that caught a lot of press, more so about their music. It was more about the things and the moves that they made and that kind of stuff. But this is kind of a lot more of like not as noisy an N.W.A. project. Like I feel like Niggas for Life and Straight Outta Compton kind of were both noisy for various reasons, but this EP is kind of like the least, maybe not like least in terms of quality, but this is kind of a quieter N.W.A. project, which is surprising because they always made headlines. But the thing kind of about it is Ice Cube. This is the first project without Ice Cube and Arabian Prince. Like Ice Cube left in 1990, or it was either like somewhere in 1989 or 1990, and really later on they would go on to have diss records towards Ice Cube and stuff. But this is kind of like, I was surprised to kind of hear Dr. Dre on here, because Dr. Dre is kind of particularly feral on this project. Like, it's interesting. Usually Dr. Dre is usually calm and collected and that type stuff, and a lot more centered. But on this project, he sounds particularly tense and dramatic, and just overall kind of ravaged in a lot of ways. This is a really kind of odd finding of a secret package of N.W.A. songs with Dr. Dre on them. It's just kind of an odd pairing. Eazy-E sounds as comfortable as he normally does. He still has his same sort of comfortable pitch like he normally does. He's just fit for this gangster rap type stuff. And then I don't know MC Ren that well, but it was interesting to kind of hear him. He sounds like another 90s gangster rap type gem and stuff. But it is too bad that Ice Cube didn't do anything with this project, because it just would have been nice to have gotten that whole collective. But as far as that's kind of concerned, this is a pretty quality project. This is a pretty quality project. It may not have the overall controversy of like Straight Outta Compton or later Niggas for Life and that type of stuff, but I do kind of feel like it does have like a particular grace about it, and it's a pretty compact and overall solid project. I was just surprised at like the concept. I mean, this production is kind of stark. I feel like Niggas for Life is better produced, but it does have some City Traverse type tunes that make it kind of a nice potent ingredient for at least like the golden age of rap. And this is another one from like the 1986 or so to, this is another one from like the 1986 or so to like the 1994 or so rap era, specifically kind of California and gangsta rap type stuff that I feel like is pretty noteworthy. So I just kind of feel like this is probably one of the better early 90s and late 80s rap records. I just would have to say it just has that compact kind of feel towards it. Now, I need to eventually mess with Straight Outta Compton and Niggas for Life, which I'm going to do, but I wanted to kind of start off with some N.W.A. stuff to see what basically which wins, the group that wins a lot of accolades and awards for their overall controversial and just overall revolutionary type feel in rap music. I wanted to see what they were up to, but there was at least one single, and this single is 100 Miles and Runnin', the title track. Now, basically, this kind of 100 Miles and Runnin' is like a city traverse kind of song. It's just kind of an out and about, but it's kind of tense. If you pay attention to the lyrics, it really sounds like they're running from the police and that type of stuff, and trying to evade like getting in trouble and that type of stuff, and just overall having problems. But I kind of see it as like a more city, it's kind of a kind of uppity kind of city traverse kind of song about being out and about, just kind of traversing through the city, kind of getting standard things done, maybe paying some bills, getting some snacks at a gas station, that type of stuff, just standard stuff, getting stamps, that sort of nonsense, kind of going along, getting like a 40 ounce and like, just some Chex Mix, that type of stuff, just some snacks out and about, and just some of those type things. I just kind of see it. I mean, a lot of these N.W.A. tunes are surprising because they did stuff that like later gangsta rap didn't really do, like Eazy-E and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and some of those folks didn't really do like the city traverse type tunes. It was something that N.W.A. was specifically good at. songs like Straight Outta Compton and some of those type tunes would kind of have like these city traverse kind of songs where it sounds like you're not in a vehicle, you're not in a club, you're not cruising around, but just kind of more on foot and traversing and that type of stuff, and just kind of going through the town and appreciating like the sights and the sunsets and the surroundings and that type of stuff. I mean, the lyrics kind of have it in a more gangster rap and kind of tense type tune, but I definitely see these as just like standard out and about, getting like food and snacks and drinks and liquor, 40s, that type of stuff, Chex Mix, snacks, that sort of stuff, just to kind of have some of those. But I think that there's at least a couple of songs on here that kind of have that city traverse. Now you have to keep in mind, like I said, the lyrics are kind of tense. It's not like NWA is going to say, go into the store to get like an orange juice or something like that, but it would kind of be just in the sense that it's just kind of meant for city bops and kind of traversing, despite the fact that it's gangster rap. I do feel it's a pretty solid single. MC Ren, Dr. Dre, and Eazy-E sound great on here. But like I said, Dr. Dre sounds the most feral out of all the three of them. He sounds the most damaged and ravaged and tense. Just kind of odd hearing him on these type of songs. That he would sound so much more comfortable on like both Straight Outta Compton and Niggas for Life. So it's just kind of odd. But I do like all three of them on the song. But to basically talk about the rest of the 5 songs on this album, I kind of feel like I liked all 5 of the songs on here. I liked all 5 of the songs on this EP, but 2 of them are kind of almost songs. Like I feel like 100 Miles and Runnin' and Surprise, which is basically Fuck the Police Part 2, but it's called Surprise, are both almost songs just because the production is kind of stark and more boom bap, and I think it kind of has a learning curve as far as trying to get attached to it and be able to mess with it. These are both Surprise and 100 Miles and Running are city traverse kind of songs. I feel like Surprise is a little bit more of an entry kind of song, and a dap kind of song as you're getting ready to meet up and kind of hang out and get ready to kick it, and the party's getting ready to get started, but it still kind of has like a city traverse and errands type feel about it. Yeah, Surprise just feels a lot more jivey and kind of with it, just a lot more just energetic and not quite as tense and like dark as like 100 Miles and Running, the title track kind of does. But those are just the 2 ones. I still feel like both of these are pretty ancient in production. That's why I picked them as almost songs, is just because I like them, but they're not immediate highlights just because they're kind of over the hill kind of production and kind of, I don't want to say obsolete, but just kind of not necessarily recent. They sound really kind of dated, but I do feel like Real Niggas doesn't have that feel, and neither does Just Don't Bite It. Real Niggas and Just Don't Bite It don't have as ancient of production type feelings on them. Where I feel like Real Niggas is kind of an evening tune. This has like that very hazy and distorted kind of evening rush kind of feel, just that 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. kind of malaise about it. It's lively, it's busy, kind of like a night cruise kind of song, just kind of getting more stuff done, but more at the night. It's not so much like a city kind of on foot traverse type tune, but I do feel like it's got a nice kind of evening edge towards it. This is kind of real kind of muddled of a tune, I would have to say. And then Just Don't Bite It's like the only real ladies song on here, but it's a nice one. It's just a gangster rap kind of rosy flirt type song, just kind of in a gangsta sense. I just would have to say it's just about kind of getting fellatio and that type of stuff and saying don't bite it and that type thing. Just kind of has that context. But I like this one, but I do kind of wish that Eazy-E and Dr. Dre would have been on here. I'm not really sure as to why MC Ren was the only cat on this song. It was too bad that they didn't all have verses on this song, because it was a pretty nice one. I felt like it would have been neat to have had Dr. Dre and Eazy-E on there. It's just an overall kind of rosy, kind of gangsta flirt song. I just would have to say, yeah, that about takes care of it. I do also like Commercial, which is not really a song as much as it is just a skit and an interlude. It's just kind of an advertisement for their second album that was going to come out in 1991, months later, and that type stuff. I kind of like this just as like a decent interlude. It's just kind of something to get you a little bit excited. It's just kind of like if you're going to the kitchen to get snacks or something like that, or get like a drink, a soda, a Coke out of the fridge or something like that, and you just need something to play, not necessarily a song that's going to get you hype or while you're playing video games or watching football or something like that, but just kind of in the context of just having something to kind of, while you're not in the room or while you're preoccupied, just having something to kind of keep folks kind of relatively excited and stuff. I just like that kind of feel. I mean, there needs to be more songs like this. I like that kind of concept of just having kind of like an off the wall interlude. That's basically the album. I kind of feel like I'm going to give this EP like a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna give this EP like a 9 out of 10 because I feel like the quality of it is there. I liked every single song on this project. I feel like the quality of this project is there. I liked every single song on this project. This is the fact that two of the songs, 100 Miles and Runnin', which is the single, and then Surprise Part 2, are basically kind of a steeper learning curve just because they're kind of more stark and minimalist production. I feel like that's kind of the concept. I mean, if it was still 1992 or 1995, I would say, yeah, this would probably get a 10 out of 10. But all these years, basically over 30 years later, 33 years later, it shows its age. And it's just kind of the concept. It doesn't show its age in terms of quality, but just in terms of like production, kind of sonically pleasing type atmosphere. Is just kind of a more old bird in that sort of sense, and that's just kind of thing. But I give it a 9. It's still pretty solid. I wasn't expecting to give this project a 9. I really thought it was going to get like a 5 or a 6 or a 4 or something, but I'm glad that I liked it this much. It's just a gangster rap staple, and basically just really cements N.W.A.'s legacy as if they needed it to be cemented. But I do feel like it's pretty quality. It's just good to see that I'm connecting with N.W.A. because I haven't listened to them overabundantly because of their kind of stark and minimalist production. But we'll see how the rest of their projects kind of go. In terms of the social score, I kind of feel like that is, I'll give their social score an 8 out of 10 because I feel like these singles, or at least these songs, like 100 Miles and Runnin' and Surprise, are both pretty nice city kind of tunes, and Real Niggas is kind of like a nice evening tune for stepping out, a little bit busy a tune, but and Just Don't Bite is for the ladies. But I kind of feel like some of this is kind of stark and older, and there's really not like a club song, which I think N.W.A. definitely could have used. They definitely could have used like a dance club. I mean, I know that they're gangsta, like stark gangsta rap. They're like one of the epitomes of gangsta rap. I could have used like a more kind of jivey, kind of bounce to the ounce kind of dance song, something like that, that could have helped, get some asses shaking, that sort of thing. But I just feel like for what it is decent social score, but it gets an 8, so that's just kind of the thing. So in terms of the future, there's not really a future. Eazy-E is deceased, and the other band members have since kind of went their separate ways. I mean, MC Ren, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, they've done more things, but we'll get to some more of these and kind of see what's up with it. But I will review more N.W.A. down the road and such. So